want an open marriage. I don't want to feel trapped anymore." Those words ended Keisha Mills' 6-year marriage by the time it took her husband to finish his wine. Keisha thought the hardest part of marriage would be sacrifice. She never imagined it would erase her completely. The next day, she was in the arms of Lee Seong-min, California's most powerful mafia boss, a man who owned politicians, industries, and secrets, on a red carpet in front of every camera in Los Angeles. Her husband asked for freedom. She gave him a funeral. When Seong-min lifted her into his arms at the charity gala, his voice low and dangerous in her ear, "Let him watch." Keisha realized she wasn't just getting revenge. She was getting her entire life back. Click subscribe, like this video, and comment where you are watching from. Your support helps to bring more interesting stories you wouldn't want to miss. Now let's get into the story. They were sitting in the dining room of the Pasadena penthouse Baek Young-jae's tech empire had bought, the one with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city lights, the one that should have meant they'd made it. 6 years of marriage, 6 years of uprooting her life, learning his language, enduring his family's silent judgment, shrinking herself smaller and smaller until she almost disappeared. And now this. "I need to be honest with you," Young-jae said, his chopsticks precise against the porcelain. His Korean accent barely present. He'd perfected his American English for business. "I've been thinking about our arrangement, about us." Keisha's chest tightened. Nothing good ever started with, "I need to be honest." "What arrangement?" she asked, though she already knew. "Our marriage." He was talking about their marriage like it was a contract, up for renegotiation. "Keisha," he set down his chopsticks with clinical precision. "We've built a good life, stable, respectable, but I'm 34. My family has expectations, and I think we both know this marriage has become limiting." There it was, the word that would detonate everything, limiting. "Limiting how?" Her voice came out smaller than she wanted. Young-jae finally looked at her, and his eyes were so calm it made her blood run cold. "I want an open marriage. I think we should both have the freedom to explore other connections while maintaining what we've built together." The room tilted. Keisha gripped the edge of the table. "You want to see other people while we're married?" "I want honesty instead of resentment. I want freedom instead of obligation." He leaned back, his posture relaxed, like he was discussing a business merger. "This is very common now. Progressive couples do this all the time. We stay married, keep our life, our reputation, but we stop pretending we're something we're not. We're not. Not I'm not." He was already speaking for both of them. "This is insane," Keisha whispered. "You can't just... This isn't how marriage works." "It's how our marriage works now," Young-jae said, standing. "Unless you'd prefer a divorce." The threat hung in the air like smoke. Agree or lose everything. Keisha thought about her life. She'd left Chicago, her family, her design career, to follow Young-jae to California when his startup exploded. She'd learned Korean to please his mother, who still called her that black woman when she thought Keisha couldn't understand. She'd endured business dinners where wives smiled with knives behind their teeth, charity events where she was invisible unless someone needed a diversity photo. 6 years of making herself smaller, quieter, more acceptable, and now he wanted permission to replace her while keeping her on display. "I need time," she managed. "Take tonight." Young-jae checked his watch, already mentally gone. "But Keisha, I'm moving forward either way. The only question is whether you're staying or going." He walked out, leaving her alone with cold food and a colder future. Keisha didn't sleep that night. She lay in their bed, alone, because Young-jae had moved to the guest room 4 months ago and tried to understand how her life had become this nightmare. She'd met Baek Young-jae 7 years ago at a tech conference in San Francisco. He'd been magnetic, ambitious, brilliant, attentive. He'd pursued her relentlessly, said he'd never met anyone like her, that her creativity stunned him, that her blackness was beautiful, that his traditional family's opinions didn't matter. He loved her. She'd believed him. They married within a year, moved to his Pasadena penthouse, and everything shifted. His family tolerated her for appearances. His business circle smiled while excluding her. And somewhere along the way, the man who'd loved her fire became the man who needed her extinguished. The invitation to the charity gala arrived the next morning. Gold lettering, elite guest list, the kind of event where California's most powerful people gathered to see and be seen. Youngjae assumed she wouldn't attend. He was wrong. Youngjae didn't come home that night. Keisha knew because she lay awake listening for the elevator, the keypad beep, the sound of his footsteps in the hallway. Nothing. Just the hum of the city below and the echo of his words. I'm moving forward either way. She remembered a different man. 7 years ago, Youngjae had flown to Chicago 3 times in 1 month just to take her to dinner. He'd learned about her family, asked about her design portfolio, told her she was the most fascinating woman he'd ever met. When his startup began taking off, he'd begged her to move west with him. I can't do this without you, he'd said, holding both her hands in his apartment overlooking Lake Michigan. You're my balance, Keisha, my home. She'd believed him. God, she'd believed every word. Now she understood. He'd needed her stability while building his empire, her calm while he climbed, her sacrifice while he succeeded. And the moment he'd secured his throne, she'd become furniture, expensive, presentable furniture he could rearrange at will. Keisha rose at dawn, her body moving on autopilot through the morning routine. Shower, skincare, the armor of a woman who'd learned to survive hostile territory. She was making coffee when Youngjae finally walked in, suit already perfect, like he'd been at the office since 6. Did you think about what I said? No greeting, no apology for disappearing. I'm still processing. Her voice was steady. She'd practiced it all night. There's nothing to process. It's simple. He poured himself coffee, not meeting her eyes. We maintain appearances publicly. Privately, we're free. You can even see other people if you want. The permission felt like a slap, as if she'd been waiting for his approval to exist. Your mother's birthday dinner is Saturday, she said instead of screaming. Should I still attend? Youngjae's jaw tightened. Of course. We're still married, Keisha. That doesn't change. Everything changes, she thought. You just want me not to notice. He left again. Keisha stood alone in the kitchen of their $1 million penthouse and felt like the poorest woman in California. By afternoon, the walls were closing in. Keisha did what she'd learned to do, made herself useful. She confirmed the catering for Youngjae's upcoming business dinner, responded to his assistant about dry cleaning, checked the calendar for his mother's gift delivery. The perfect wife, invisible but indispensable. She was updating his calendar when his phone, the one he'd left charging in the study, lit up with a message preview. G1, can't wait for Friday. I'll wear the red dress you like. Keisha's hands went cold. She shouldn't look. She knew she shouldn't, but her fingers moved anyway, opening the thread. Months of messages, photos, plans. A woman named Park Ji-won, daughter of one of Youngjae's investors, already embedded in his life. Already chosen. The open marriage wasn't a proposal. It was a formality. He'd already replaced her. He just wanted to do it without guilt. Keisha set the phone down carefully, her hands trembling. She would not break. Not here. Not where he could see. She walked to the bedroom, opened her closet, and stared at the garment bag in the back, the one containing the gold dress she'd bought 6 months ago for an event Youngjae had attended without her. Too bold, he'd said. Too attention-seeking. The charity gala invitation sat on the dresser where she'd left it that morning. Elite donors, press coverage, Los Angeles' most powerful people gathered in one ballroom. Youngjae had already RSVP'd, alone, she was certain. He expected her to stay home, stay quiet, stay erased. Keisha pulled the dress from its bag, the fabric shimmering like liquid gold in the afternoon light. She texted the event coordinator. Keisha Mills, +1 to the gala. confirming attendance. Then she blocked Young Jae's number. She wouldn't cry for him again, wouldn't beg, wouldn't shrink. If he wanted freedom, she'd give him something better. A front row seat to his own irrelevance. The gala was tomorrow night, and Keisha Mills was done being the wife who stayed quiet. The Beverly Hilton blazed with golden light, transforming the red carpet into a river of fire. Keisha stepped from the town car alone, the gold dress clinging to her like molten metal, and felt every camera turn. She'd forgotten what power felt like. The dress was everything Young Jae had feared, bold, unapologetic, impossible to ignore. It caught the light with every breath, turned her brown skin luminous, made her presence undeniable. Her hair fell in loose waves past her shoulders. Her makeup was flawless, and for the first time in 6 years, she looked like herself. Not Young Jae's wife, just Keisha. The press shouted questions she didn't answer. She simply walked, head high, into the ballroom where California's elite gathered like beautiful predators. Chandeliers dripped crystal overhead. Champagne flowed. Money and power exchanged invisible handshakes in every corner. She spotted Young Jae immediately. Dark suit, perfect posture, standing with a group of tech executives near the bar. And beside him, wearing red like a promise kept, was Park Ji-won. He saw Keisha and froze. Just for a second, his composure cracked. Then he recovered, leaning closer to Ji-won with deliberate intimacy, sending a message. "You're already replaced." Keisha felt nothing. The anger had burned itself out overnight, leaving only cold clarity. She took a champagne flute from a passing server and moved deeper into the crowd, avoiding his orbit entirely. Let him watch her not care. Let him realize she'd stopped playing the game he'd designed. "You look like you're deciding whether to stay or burn the place down." The voice came from behind her, low, controlled, with the faintest trace of a Korean accent softened by years in America. Keisha turned and found herself facing a man who made every other person in the room fade into background noise. Lee Seong-min. She knew the name. Everyone in Los Angeles did, even if they pretended not to. Tech investments, real estate empires, political connections that ran so deep they disappeared underground. The kind of wealth that didn't need to announce itself because everyone already knew. Rumors followed him like shadows. Organized crime, corporate warfare, a man who made problems disappear. He was tall, impeccably dressed in a black suit that probably cost more than her car, with dark eyes that studied her like she was the only interesting thing in the room. Not the predatory assessment she'd learned to recognize from other men. Something sharper, more patient. "I haven't decided yet," Keisha said, meeting his gaze directly. His mouth curved slightly. Not quite a smile. Honest. "I appreciate that. Most people don't. Most people are comfortable with lies." He gestured subtly toward Young Jae. "Your husband, for example. He's been lying to himself for months." Keisha's breath caught. "You know him?" "I know everyone worth knowing in this city." Seong-min took a sip of whiskey, his eyes never leaving hers. "And I know you, Keisha Mills. The wife who made herself invisible so her husband could shine. The designer who gave up her career. The woman who learned Korean to please people who would never respect her." She should have been frightened. Instead, she felt seen. "That's a lot of research for a stranger." "I don't believe in strangers. Only people I haven't invested in yet." He set down his glass with deliberate precision. "You're here alone tonight? By choice, I'm guessing." "By necessity." "Better reason." Seong-min's gaze shifted briefly to Young Jae, who was now watching them with poorly concealed alarm. "He's realizing his mistake. Watching you stand here, looking like that, talking to me. He's finally understanding what he threw away. That's his problem now." "Is it?" Seong-min stepped closer, his presence somehow both dangerous and anchoring. "Because, from where I'm standing, you walked in here with nothing to lose. That's the most powerful position in any room." Across the ballroom, Young Jae started moving toward them. Ji-won forgotten. Seong-min noticed. His expression didn't change, but something predatory flickered behind his eyes, amusement mixed with warning. He's coming to reclaim territory he already abandoned, Xiangmin observed quietly. Do you want to be reclaimed, Keisha? No. Good. He extended his arm, the gesture somehow both an invitation and a declaration. Then let's give him something to really worry about. Keisha looked at his offered arm, at Youngjae closing the distance between them, at the cameras still flashing near the entrance. She took Xiangmin's arm, and everything shifted. The moment Keisha's hand touched Xiangmin's arm, the air pressure in the ballroom changed. Youngjae stopped mid-stride, his expression cycling through confusion, recognition, then something darker. He knew exactly who Lee Seong-min was. Everyone did. And he was watching his wife, his discarded, supposedly compliant wife, standing beside the most dangerous man in California. Keisha. Youngjae's voice carried that specific tone of controlled displeasure she knew too well. We need to talk. No, she said simply. We don't. His jaw tightened. You're making a scene. I'm having a conversation. Keisha felt Seong-min's arm solid beneath her palm, anchoring her. You should get back to your date. Youngjae's eyes flicked to Seong-min, measuring, calculating. Whatever he saw there made him recalibrate. Mr. Lee, I didn't realize you knew my wife. I didn't, until tonight. Seong-min's tone was pleasant, conversational, absolutely lethal underneath. Fortunate timing. Keisha and I are working through some temporary issues. Your issues aren't temporary, Seong-min interrupted smoothly. They're terminal. You just haven't accepted it yet. The ballroom had gone quiet around them. Not obviously. The music still played. Conversations continued. But something predatory in the atmosphere made people pay attention without appearing to. Youngjae's composure finally cracked. This is inappropriate. Keisha, we're leaving. She's not. Seong-min's voice dropped lower, and Keisha felt the danger radiating off him like heat. You are. You can't just... I can. 2 words. Absolute certainty. Youngjae looked at Keisha, expecting her to mediate, to smooth things over like she'd done 1,000 times before. She stared back silently, offering nothing. His face flushed with rage and humiliation. You're going to regret this. Seong-min moved so fast Keisha barely registered it. 1 second they were standing together. The next his arm was around her waist, and he'd lifted her clean off the ground, cradling her against his chest like she weighed nothing. The cameras erupted. Flash after flash after flash. The press photographers who'd been lingering near the ballroom entrance now surging forward, sensing blood in the water. Keisha gasped, instinctively gripping Seong-min's shoulders, and he looked down at her, with dark eyes that promised violence and protection in equal measure. Trust me, he murmured, his mouth close to her ear. Then he turned toward the cameras, holding her publicly, possessively, irrevocably. The image was devastating. Keisha Mills in liquid gold, cradled in the arms of Lee Seong-min, her expression stunned and his absolutely controlled. Dominance without apology, desire without question, a statement that couldn't be misunderstood. Behind them, Youngjae stood frozen, his face a portrait of shock and fury. Reporters shouted questions. Who is she? Are you together? Mr. Lee, is this a relationship? Seong-min ignored them all. He walked toward the exit, still carrying Keisha, and the crowd parted like water. Near the door, he finally set her down, his hands lingering at her waist to steady her. That, he said quietly, was for the cameras, and for him. Keisha's heart hammered against her ribs. Fear and exhilaration tangled together until she couldn't separate them. That was necessary. Seong-min glanced back at Youngjae, who was now surrounded by concerned business associates and a livid Ji-won. He needed to understand you're no longer accessible to his cruelty. By making me accessible to yours? His eyes returned to her face, something almost like respect flickering there. I don't deal in cruelty, Keisha. I deal in consequences. Your husband wanted freedom. Now he has it. He straightened his jacket with casual precision. And you have options you didn't have an hour ago. Youngjae finally broke free from the crowd, heading toward them with barely restrained rage. Xiongmin stepped slightly in front of Keisha, not hiding her, but positioning himself as a wall. When Youngjae reached them, Xiongmin spoke first, his voice soft and courteous and absolutely final. If you come near her again tonight, I'll assume you're threatening what's mine, and I handle threats permanently. He smiled without warmth. Enjoy your evening, Baek Youngjae. It's the last one where you'll matter. Then he offered Keisha his arm again. She took it, her hands trembling with adrenaline. They walked out together into the Los Angeles night, leaving Youngjae drowning in camera flashes. By the time they reached the valet, Keisha's phone was exploding with notifications. The photos were already everywhere. Xiongmin's car was exactly what Keisha expected. Black, sleek, worth more than most houses. What she didn't expect was the silence. He didn't touch her, didn't speak, just drove through the Los Angeles night with the focused precision of a man who always knew exactly where he was going. Her phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Texts, calls, social media notifications exploding like fireworks. She turned the screen face down and watched the city lights blur past. You should look, Xiongmin said finally. You'll want to see what we created. We? You think I lifted you into my arms on impulse. His mouth curved slightly. Everything I do is calculated, Keisha, including tonight. Something cold slid down her spine. What does that mean? Instead of answering, he pulled into an underground garage beneath a high-rise in downtown LA. Private elevator, penthouse level. The doors opened directly into a space that made Youngjae's place look like a college dorm. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the entire city. Minimalist furniture that probably cost 6 figures. Art on the walls that belonged in museums. Sit, Xiongmin said, gesturing to the leather sofa. We need to talk honestly. Keisha remained standing. I think we're past honesty. You used me. Yes. No hesitation, no apology. Your husband made a mistake 6 months ago. He tried to undercut one of my business acquisitions. Thought his tech connections made him untouchable. He was wrong. Xiongmin poured 2 glasses of whiskey, set one on the table near her. I've been waiting for the right moment to remind him exactly how small he is. Then you walked into that gala looking like vengeance in gold, and I realized you were the perfect leverage. The truth should have felt like betrayal. Instead, it felt like clarity. So this was just business. It started as business. Xiongmin met her eyes directly. It stopped being just business the moment you took my arm. When you didn't flinch, didn't apologize, didn't try to explain yourself to him. He took a slow sip of whiskey. You have no idea how rare that is. Rare enough to keep using me? No. Rare enough to offer you a choice. He set down his glass with deliberate precision. Those photos are everywhere now. Within an hour, every news outlet in California will be running stories. Your husband's reputation is hemorrhaging as we speak. You're either my weapon against him or you walk away right now and deal with the fallout alone. Keisha's phone buzzed again. She finally looked. 73 missed calls from Youngjae. Texts ranging from confusion to rage to threats. And photos, dozens of them, showing Xiongmin holding her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. What's the arrangement? She asked quietly. Publicly, we're together, inseparable. You attend events with me, stay at my properties, let the world believe you chose me over him. Xiongmin's voice was calm, businesslike. Privately, I respect your boundaries, absolutely. Your autonomy is non-negotiable. You want separate rooms, you have them. You want distance, you take it. You want out completely, you walk. And in exchange, I destroy your husband's credibility, his business relationships, and his peace of mind. Thoroughly, permanently. His eyes darkened. Men like Baek Youngjae don't understand consequences until they've lost everything. I'm going to teach him. Keisha's phone rang again. Youngjae, 12th attempt. She declined the call and blocked his number. I have one condition, she said. Xiongmin waited. I'm not your possession, not your trophy. If we do this, I'm your partner, equal footing. Something flickered across his face. Surprise, maybe, or respect. Agreed. Then we have a deal. He extended his hand. She shook it, feeling the controlled strength in his grip, the certainty that this man kept his promises. Her phone buzzed with a new notification. Not Young Jae this time. Someone had tagged her in a post. The photo showed her in Seong-min's arms, her gold dress catching the light, his expression possessive and protective. The caption read, "California's most powerful bachelor finally claims someone worthy." Keisha should have felt used, manipulated, afraid. Instead, she felt dangerous. "He's going to spiral," she said quietly. "He already is." Seong-min retrieved his own phone, showed her a string of increasingly unhinged messages from business associates asking about his relationship status. "By tomorrow, he'll be radioactive. No one crosses me and keeps their empire intact." Keisha looked at the city sprawling below them, glittering and indifferent and full of possibilities she'd forgotten existed. Revenge wasn't supposed to feel this good, but God, it did. Young Jae was waiting outside Seong-min's building when Keisha emerged the next morning. She'd spent the night in the guest suite, alone as promised, and had slept better than she had in months. No performance, no tension, just silence and expensive sheets and the distant hum of the city below. Now stepping into the morning sunlight, wearing yesterday's gold dress and Seong-min's suit jacket draped over her shoulders, she found her husband leaning against his Tesla, arms crossed, jaw tight with barely controlled rage. "We need to talk." Not a request, a demand. Keisha stopped on the sidewalk, keeping distance between them. "No, we don't. You can't seriously be doing this." Young Jae pushed off the car, approaching. "Keisha, this is insane. You know who that man is. What he does? I know exactly who he is. He's a criminal. He's using you to get to me." Young Jae's voice climbed higher, desperation creeping in. "This isn't real. Whatever he's telling you, whatever he's promising, it's manipulation." Keisha tilted her head, studied him with detached curiosity. This was the man she'd loved for 7 years, the man she'd sacrificed everything for. Now he looked like a stranger having a tantrum. "You asked for an open marriage," she said calmly. "I'm exercising that freedom." "Not like this. Not with him." Young Jae reached for her arm. "Come home. We'll talk about this properly. We can work this out." "There's nothing to work out." She stepped back from his touch. "You wanted options, Young Jae. You have them. So do I now." "This is about revenge." His expression shifted to something uglier. "You're trying to hurt me." "No." Keisha smiled without warmth. "I'm trying to live. There's a difference." "He doesn't care about you. You're a chess piece. And what was I to you?" The question landed like a blade. "When you asked for an open marriage, when you'd already been seeing Ji-won for months, when you treated me like furniture you were tired of, what was I then?" Young Jae's face went pale. "How did you—" "I know everything." Keisha's voice stayed level, but something fierce burned underneath. "I know about the messages, the plans, the fact that you'd already replaced me before asking permission. So don't stand here acting betrayed when you wrote this ending yourself." "Keisha," she's made her position clear. Seong-min's voice cut through the morning air like steel. He emerged from the building's entrance, dressed in a charcoal suit, moving with that same controlled precision that made everyone around him recalibrate their understanding of power. Young Jae straightened, trying to regain authority. "This is between me and my wife." "Your wife made a choice." Seong-min stopped beside Keisha, not touching her, but close enough to make his claim unmistakable. "You should respect it. You did this deliberately. You targeted her. I offered her an option you never gave her." Seong-min's tone remained pleasant, but his eyes were cold. "The freedom to walk away from someone who didn't value her. That terrifies you because you're finally realizing what you threw away." "She's my wife. On paper, not in practice." Seong-min glanced at Keisha. "Tell him." Keisha looked at Young Jae, really looked, and felt nothing but relief that it was over. "I'm filing for divorce," she said quietly. "You wanted freedom, Young Jae. Now we both have it." No, we're not. You can't just—" Young Jae's composure shattered completely. Keisha, please, don't do this. We can fix this. There's nothing left to fix. Xiongmin's hand moved to the small of her back, a gesture of support and possession. Photographers across the street, because of course there were photographers, captured the moment. Young Jae desperate, Keisha unmoved, Xiongmin claiming territory he'd already won. Walk away, Xiongmin said softly to Young Jae. Before this gets worse for you. Young Jae looked between them, seeing his future collapse in real time. Then his expression hardened into something vicious. You'll regret this, both of you. Empty threats from empty men. Xiongmin smiled without humor. Try me, Beck. See what happens. Young Jae turned and stalked back to his car, his exit captured from every angle. The moment he drove away, Keisha exhaled shakily. Xiongmin's hand stayed at her back, steadying. You did well, he murmured. I feel... She couldn't name it. Relief? Power? Fear? Xiongmin turned her gently to face him, his dark eyes searching hers. You feel free? Yes. That was it. Freedom. She reached up, touching his jaw, half testing, half claiming, and felt him go still beneath her fingers. Thank you, she whispered. Then she kissed him. It wasn't calculated, wasn't for the cameras. It was real and desperate and fierce, 6 years of silence finally breaking open. Xiongmin responded instantly, his hand sliding into her hair, pulling her closer, kissing her back like he'd been waiting for permission. When they finally broke apart, Keisha's heart was hammering and her lips felt swollen, and she realized with perfect clarity, this wasn't an arrangement anymore. The photographers got their shot. Keisha Mills kissing Lee Xiongmin in broad daylight, her hand on his jaw, his fingers tangled in her hair. By noon, the image would be everywhere. By evening, Young Jae's world would finish crumbling. But right now, standing on a Los Angeles sidewalk, with her lips still tingling, Keisha didn't care about revenge, or strategy, or consequences. She only cared that Xiongmin was looking at her like she'd done something irreversible. We should go inside, he said quietly, his voice rougher than usual. They rode the elevator in charged silence. The moment the penthouse doors closed behind them, Xiongmin turned to face her, his expression unreadable. That wasn't for the cameras? No, Keisha admitted. It wasn't. Then we need to talk about what this is becoming. Her pulse jumped. What do you think it's becoming? Instead of answering, Xiongmin moved to the windows overlooking the city. I told you, I noticed you at the gala. That wasn't entirely true. He loosened his tie with precise movements. I noticed you 8 months ago, at a tech conference where your husband was giving a keynote. Keisha's breath caught. What? You were sitting in the back row, listening to him talk about innovation and disruption, and you looked... He paused, searching for words. Erased. Like someone had slowly turned down your volume until you were barely there. But when he said something particularly arrogant, I saw you smile. Just for a second, like you knew exactly how full of shit he was. You remember that? I remember thinking, that woman is dangerous. She's just been convinced she's not. Xiongmin turned to face her. I looked into you after that. Your design portfolio, your career before you moved here, the sacrifices you made. And I watched your husband take credit for your stability while treating you like an accessory. Keisha's heart hammered against her ribs. Why didn't you approach me then? Because you weren't ready. You still believed in him. His eyes darkened. When he tried to undercut my acquisition, I started planning his destruction. Then, you walked into that gala wearing gold and fury, and I realized you'd finally stopped believing, so I offered you what you needed. Revenge. Power, he corrected. There's a difference. Keisha crossed the space between them slowly, testing. And now? What am I to you now? Xiongmin's jaw tightened. Something I didn't plan for. She should have been afraid. This man controlled industries, commanded loyalty through fear and respect, lived in a world where weakness was fatal. Getting close to him meant stepping into darkness she didn't understand. But she was so tired of being safe and small and invisible. I don't know how to trust this, she whispered. I trusted Young Jae. I trusted that love would be enough. And I'm not him. Xiongmin's hand came up to cup her face, his thumb brushing her cheekbone. I don't ask you to shrink. I don't need you diminished to feel powerful. I want... He stopped, something vulnerable flickering across his features. I want you exactly as you are. Dangerous and done with pretending. Keisha leaned into his touch, her defenses cracking. This is insane. We barely know each other. I know you gave up everything for a man who didn't deserve your sacrifice. I know you're brilliant and underestimated and finally angry enough to take what you want. His voice dropped lower. And I know that kiss wasn't strategy. No, she breathed. It wasn't. Then stop pretending this is still an arrangement. Xiongmin's other hand slid to her waist, pulling her flesh against him. Tell me what you want, Keisha. She looked up at him, this dangerous, powerful man who'd orchestrated her revenge and somehow become something more, and made her choice. You. I want you. The kiss was nothing like the one on the sidewalk. This was intentional, consuming, a line crossed with full awareness of what it meant. Xiongmin kissed her like he'd been restraining himself for months, his control finally fracturing. Keisha responded with equal hunger, fingers gripping his shirt, pulling him closer. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, reality crashed back. This complicates everything, Keisha said. Good. Xiongmin's smile was dark and genuine. I'm done with simple. She laughed despite herself, despite the fear curling in her chest, despite knowing she was falling for a man whose world operated in shadows. What happens now? Now? He pulled her back into his arms, his lips brushing her temple. We stop pretending, and we make your husband understand exactly what he lost. Keisha closed her eyes, breathing in his scent. Expensive cologne and certainty and danger. She'd walked into Xiongmin's world seeking revenge. She was staying for something far more terrifying. The possibility that power and love weren't mutually exclusive. That maybe finally she'd found someone who wanted her undimmed. The divorce papers arrived 3 days later, hand-delivered to Young Jae's office by Xiongmin's attorney. Keisha knew because her phone exploded with his rage within minutes. 47 calls in 2 hours. Text messages that devolved from threats to pleading to threats again. She ignored every single one. She was having breakfast on Xiongmin's terrace, the morning sun warming her skin when Young Jae finally found another way in. His mother called. This is disgraceful, Mrs. Beck said in Korean, her voice tight with fury. You are humiliating my son publicly. Whatever problems you have, you handle them privately, like a proper wife. Keisha responded in perfect Korean, her accent flawless after 6 years of practice. I'm not his wife anymore. That ended when he asked for an open marriage. Silence. Then, he told me you misunderstood. I understood perfectly. He wanted permission to betray me without consequences. Keisha took a sip of coffee, her hand steady. Tell him to sign the papers. It's over. She hung up. Xiongmin appeared in the doorway, suit already perfect despite the early hour. Your phone's been busy. He's spiraling. Good. He sat across from her, his dark eyes assessing. He showed up at my office yesterday. Security removed him. Keisha's stomach tightened. What did he want? To threaten me. To warn me you're using me for money. To explain that you're mentally unstable and I'm being manipulated. Xiongmin's mouth curved without humor. He's desperate. Men like him can't handle losing control. He never had control. He just convinced me I'd given it to him. And now I'm taking it back. Her phone rang again, this time Young Jae's personal lawyer. Keisha answered on speaker. Yes? Mrs. Beck, this is David Chen. I'm calling on behalf of your husband to discuss settlement terms. Tell him to sign the papers as written. 50-50 split of assets. No alimony. Clean break. Mrs. Beck, perhaps we should discuss this in person. There's nothing to discuss. I want nothing from him except my freedom. She paused. He wanted an open marriage. Now it's permanently open. She disconnected. That afternoon, Youngjae bypassed all intermediaries and showed up at Seongmin's, building himself. This time Keisha agreed to see him, in the lobby with Seongmin's security watching. He looked destroyed. Rumpled suit, shadows under his eyes, the carefully maintained facade completely collapsed. "Keisha, please, we need to talk." She stayed behind the security desk, maintaining distance. You can't just throw away 6 years. You already did. I'm just making it official." "This is about him, isn't it?" Youngjae's voice climbed desperately. "He's controlling you. Can't you see that? This isn't who you are." "No." Keisha's voice cut clean through his panic. "This is exactly who I am. You just spent 6 years trying to make me forget." "I made mistakes. I know that. But this, filing for divorce, parading around with a criminal, humiliating me publicly, this is too far." "Too far?" Something cold and sharp crystallized in Keisha's chest. "You asked for an open marriage while already sleeping with someone else. You made me feel crazy for being hurt. You expected me to stay quiet while you destroyed our marriage and called it honesty." She stepped forward, her voice dropping to something deadly calm. "I'm not humiliating you, Youngjae. I'm just refusing to protect you from the consequences of your own choices. People are saying things. My business relationships are suffering. My family. Your reputation is not my responsibility anymore. You're doing this to punish me. No, I'm doing this to free myself." Keisha felt the truth of it settle into her bones. "You wanted me to quietly endure while you took what you wanted, but I'm not that woman anymore. I don't owe you explanations. I don't owe you forgiveness. I don't owe you anything." Youngjae's face crumpled. "I love you. You love control. There's a difference." She turned to walk away, and his desperation exploded. "If you don't stop this, I'll drag your name through every media outlet in California. I'll expose every detail. I'll make sure everyone knows you're sleeping with a mobster." Keisha looked back over her shoulder, and the expression on her face made him stop mid-threat. "Do it," she said quietly. "Tell everyone. Explain how your wife left you for a better man the day after you asked for an open marriage. See how that helps your reputation." She walked to the elevator where Seongmin waited, leaving Youngjae standing alone in a lobby that suddenly felt too big for him. As the doors closed, Keisha realized something profound. She didn't feel angry anymore. She felt free. 3 months later, Keisha stood on another red carpet in another gold dress. Not the same one, but close enough to make a point. This time, there were no surprises, no desperation, no performance. Just her hand resting comfortably on Seongmin's arm as cameras flashed and reporters shouted questions she didn't need to answer. The divorce had finalized 6 weeks ago. Youngjae had signed eventually, after his business partners made it clear his drama was affecting their portfolios. The settlement was exactly what she'd demanded. Clean, equal, final. She'd heard through mutual acquaintances that he'd left California entirely. Relocated to New York, started over with a lower profile and a diminished empire. Park Ji-won had moved on within a month. Keisha felt nothing about any of it. He'd become background noise in a life that no longer revolved around his gravity. "You're smiling," Seongmin observed as they entered the gala. A different venue, a different cause, the same crowd of beautiful predators. "I'm happy." The simplicity of it still surprised her. "Good." His hand pressed briefly against her back, a gesture that had become familiar, grounding. "You deserve to be." Inside, the room shifted as they entered, not with shock this time, but with acceptance. Lee Seong-min and his partner, the woman who'd walked away from humiliation and into power, the couple who'd turned scandal into inevitability. Several business associates approached, conversations flowing easily. Keisha had stopped shrinking herself months ago, and people had adjusted. She was brilliant after all. She'd just been convinced she wasn't. Her design portfolio had quietly reopened. Clients were reaching out. Her voice, so long silenced, was remembering how to speak. "Mrs. Beck. Sorry, Ms. Mills." Keisha turned to find a young reporter, nervous but determined. I'm doing a piece on women reclaiming their narratives after public relationships end. Would you be willing to comment? 6 months ago, Keisha would have declined immediately. Now she considered. I'll say this, she said carefully. Sometimes the hardest thing is recognizing when you've made yourself smaller to fit someone else's vision of who you should be. Freedom isn't always comfortable, but it's always worth it. The reporter scribbled frantically. And your relationship with Mr. Lee? Some people say it happened too fast. Some people spend years in relationships that are already over. Keisha's voice stayed level, but something steel-edged ran underneath. I'm not interested in timelines that make other people comfortable. I'm interested in building a life that's actually mine. The reporter thanked her and disappeared into the crowd. Xiongmin materialized beside her with champagne. You handled that well. I'm learning from the best. She accepted the glass, then studied him. This dangerous, powerful man who'd offered her revenge and somehow given her something better. Can I ask you something? Always. What are we doing, really? Keisha gestured between them. The arrangement was supposed to be temporary, strategic, but we're 3 months past my divorce and you're still here. I'm still here. Xiongmin set down his glass with that same deliberate precision she'd come to recognize. What do you want us to be doing? I want to know if this is real. If we're real. Keisha. He turned to face her fully, his dark eyes absolutely serious. I don't do temporary. I don't do halfway. If I'm in, I'm all in. But I won't trap you. I won't own you. I want a partner, not a possession. He paused. The question is, what do you want? She looked at him. Really looked. And saw not the Mafia boss or the billionaire, or the man who'd orchestrated her revenge. Just Xiongmin. The man who'd never asked her to be smaller, who'd seen her fury and called it beautiful, who'd offered her power and meant it. I want this, she said simply. You, us, whatever we're building. Even knowing what my world looks like? Especially knowing. Keisha stepped closer, her voice dropping. I'm done with safe, Xiongmin. Safe tried to erase me. I want dangerous, real, mine. His smile was slow and genuine and devastating. Then you have it. He kissed her there, in front of everyone, and Keisha felt the final piece of her old life fall away. Somewhere in New York, young Jai was probably rebuilding his empire, rewriting his narrative, pretending she'd never mattered. She didn't care. She had her own empire now, her own narrative, her own future. And when she finally pulled away from Xiongmin's kiss, head high, gold dress shimmering under crystal chandeliers, Keisha Mills understood something profound. She was no longer the woman who waited to be chosen. She was the woman who decided, and no one, not ever again, would dare to discard her. If you want more Afro-Korean love stories filled with secrets, power, and emotional twists like this one, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story.